Hi everyone, today I'm doing a different kind of video, and this has been suggested by some of my subs already. They're very interested in seeing a little bit more detail and how the silicone pouring and the silicone work is done. So I'm going to kind of do today a little video with kind of like a mock um, video showing like how it would be to pour. I'm not actually going to pour, but I'm just going to show you the steps as best I can. And then some exciting news. After I make this video and later tonight, around 4 or 5, I will do another video, a separate video, showing actually demolding one of my new little silicone molds I got. So I will be doing that. So here we go. We're going to start with, this is what they call the glove mold. This is the Irie head. And it is like a form of plastic or silicone. I'm not going to get into how this is made, but this is what it looks like. You can see inside, the white stuff is part of the mold. So you can see, you can make out her facial parts right here. So what you do, the first thing that I would do, and I'm doing this one-handed, so bear with me, I would take this mold and turn it inside out. Right side out, or inside out, yes. And see that part is her mouth in there, that white part sticking up, that shows her, makes her mouth really deep. So I would take this and turn it inside out. Then I would go outside because it does have bad fumes. Once I turn this inside out, I would take this stuff, it's called Man's Easy Release, and it's a chemical, and it does, I'll put my mask on over here, and actually I'm going to get a better mask because that one is not quite thick enough. So I'm going to get what they call respirator mask, and it's much more coverage, so you don't want to get this in your lungs. So I've turned this inside out, I would take it outside, and I would spray this down. It's almost like similar, it's not exactly as a chemical, but it's similar to Pam cooking spray, but it's a chemical. So what I'm saying is that you spray it inside of this. So I've turned this inside, it's sprayed inside, and it helps the silicone release from the mold when you go to pour it out. So I've sprayed the inside. I would bring this back in. I would turn it back so it's like this on the right side. Then I would take this. This is called the glove mold. I'm not going to be able to do it perfectly because I'm one-handed. I would ease it into this. You can see this is hard. This is called the glove mold, the mother mold. This is the mother mold, and it's like made out of like a hard, lightweight plaster. So I would put it in here, and I'm not going to be able to actually do it one-handed. So I would put it in here, both parts. That's the front, and this is the back. And it's difficult to do it. You can't do it with one hand. Then after I did that, I would wrap this around it and tie it up, kind of like a mummy. And the purpose of the hard, this hard mother mold, here's one that's done. I'll show you. This is a leg. See, this is one, the mold has been put in there, sprayed and put in there. And then you tie it all up. And the purpose of this hard mold, called the mother mold, that holds the softer glove mold in place. So when it's poured in there, it kind of just holds it in place, and it makes me think of a mother like holding her baby, holding the baby still. So the mother mold holds the other mold still, stationary. So there's one that's put together. So after I do that, so now I've got the mold all sprayed down and put in the mother mold, and I forgot one step. Sorry, there's a lot of steps like I'm saying. Let me show you on this. Okay, I would have sprayed it. Whoop! Daggone, I dropped it. It's okay. It didn't break. So after I sprayed it, I forgot one. See this where this is the seam? What I would do is I take something called dragon skin silicone, which is very thick and it dries very fast and it's clear. What I would do is I would put this on here on the seam and wait for it to dry, and would actually, hold the seam together. That way the silicone won't leak through, and it will have, if you do it correctly and nicely, it will have a very small seam. If you do it crooked, it will have a big seam when it comes out. So I forgot that. See, that's what I'm talking about. There's a lot of steps to the silicone pouring. So I've turned it inside out, sprayed it, turn it back the right side. Then I go and glue this with Dragon silicone, glue this seam down, then put it in the mother mold and tie it up with this, like I showed you the other one. Now it would be time to mix the silicone. Down here, I have the silicone in these buckets. It's part A and B. So I would measure it out. We have to measure very precisely because it has to be exactly the same part A to the same part B. Meaning, like if I did 10 ounces A, I would have to do exactly 10 ounces B. So I would mix these two together, and I usually do it in these buckets because they have the ounces. And besides them saying what the ounces are on the side, I go and I weigh them on here, very precise. And I've actually weighed the buckets too, so I know to add that weight. So here I would weigh them and make sure it's very precise. I measure a few times to make sure it's right. Kind of like the same concept of measure twice, cut once. I measure twice and pour. Okay, so now I've got my A and B, and see one of them is a tinted. You can see it's a flesh color. There's a little bit left in the bottom from the last one I did. So I would have the two A and B parts. Now I'm just kind of do this like a mock, like I said. I would pour the B into A, so like I've poured it in. Then after that, I would mix it. You have to mix it very not good. And I don't have my spatula. I actually mix it with a cake spatula, but I'm just going to show, I do mix it with this big knife, but I too sometimes. So pretend like I've poured both part A and B in here. I mix it for 3 minutes. Make sure that it's all mixed nicely together, incorporated. After I mix it, hold on. See, that one is already starting to set that I put in those leftover. Then I take it over here. So we've got the silicone in here. This is the degasser machine. In this machine, you put the silicone bucket full of silicone in here. So I'm gonna put it in here. I'm not gonna really turn it on, but put the top on. You have to make sure the top is down, like it's heavy and it suctions. So you make sure the top's down. Then what I would do is I turn it on. Back here is a button back here. I have to make sure the valves are right. This valve should be turned towards me when I do it. So I've turned the button on for pretend. Then you watch the gauge. It has to go all the way up to 30. And it's actually sucking the bubbles out. And then I also would watch down in there and make sure the silicone is not rising too high because it could overflow. And if it starts overflowing, then I push this button, ease off of it, and it will go back down. So, okay, so the silicone has reached 30 now. That's when you stop. I turn it off. Then after I turn it off, I go ahead and do this lever, and that releases the air that's pent up in there or stayed up in there. And once you can hear all the air go out and it goes back down to 0, then I can take the top off. It's done. And there is another step. I'll show you. Okay, so the silicone is done now. Okay, so I'm just going to use the leg because this one is not actually done. So this one's leg's all ready to go with this mold. So what I would do is I would pour the silicone into here. And when you pour it, pretend like I'm pouring it. This is not how I pour it. Obviously, I would pour it inside. But when you pour it up high as you can get. You start low and then you pour it up high, so that makes less bubbles in it. So you pour it up high and slow, and you try to aim for the middle, or I would try to aim for the middle and actually the foot down here, because that's where you want it to go. So I would do that. You pour it in, and not to be confusing, but it's very confusing, and it's got a lot of steps. But actually, when I pour any of the pieces, any of the molds, I actually do it in 2 parts. So I pour half of the mold, wait for that to set for an hour, and then pour the other half. But that's kind of a lot of steps. So anyway, just pretend that I've poured it in there. Pour it high, up, and in the middle. So I've poured it in there. Now I can do another degassing. Take this, put it back in here, but I prop it up so it will stay up and the silicone won't fall out. It won't tip over. I usually prop it with blankets or towels. Prop it up, put the top on, do another degassing for another, it usually takes about 3 or until it reaches 30. Do another degassing, okay? So now the degassing is all done, but you gotta do this quickly because if you take too long, you won't have time to do the second degassing when it's actually in the mold. Okay, so I've done the second degassing, and then after that, I can't do it with, I would pick it up and I would tap it, hold it like this, and then, you know, kind of hope and it goes down in the foot like gravity. But I would hold it up like I was showing you, and I would go all around, tap it, tap, 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 because it's going to be going down here. Tap it, tap it, tap it. That helps the bubbles. Turn it, tap it, keep turning it, tapping it for about 5 to 7 minutes, depending on how long you have before it starts setting. So I tap it hard. That's like burping a baby. That's another way that Chantal explained it. You hit it hard like you're burping a baby. And you can actually see sometimes bubbles coming up. So I do that, and then I'm finally done. And it sounded like this was fast, but it actually takes quite a long process. So after I've burped it and, you know, try to get the bubbles out as best as I can. I don't have my thing. Then I would set this in, and I don't have it right now, but, you know, I have different boxes, and I actually use these sometimes to hold it. So, and it's probably not going to behave, but I would find, you know, whichever way would hold it. And one time this did it because it would pull down and would hold it. So you want the silicone to go down to the toes on the first part that you pour. So you would prop it like that, and I would make sure it's not going to fall. I would prop it, and then you're done, and you leave it for like 2 hours, and then I can pour my last half in there after 2 hours. But you touch it and make sure it's set enough. Then I pour the last half, do the exact same thing I did before. Pour the last half, and then I wait about 3 to 4 hours, depending on how your room temperature. Wait 3 to 4 hours, and then you can demold. Now that's a lot more difficult for these type of molds, the glove molds. Down here I have the molds I get off of eBay. These aren't glove molds. You just basically pop them out. They're silicone molds, but you pop them out. All you have to do with these is spray them the same way, and then they don't have a mother mold or anything. You just spray them down and then let them set. So I just want to show you these, and I'm going to do a video later today, and I'm going to actually demold them. This is a big puppy, and he's, as you can see, this was the biggest one I had before, and as you can see, he's a lot bigger than this baby. So he's a few inches bigger. So he's the biggest baby that I've done so far. So these are my new molds. It's a Shar-Pei puppy. He's laying on his belly. All these molds are laying down. And this is a polar bear. He's laying on his belly also. So I will do a video later this evening, and I will actually do a demolding and show you, pull them out, and y'all will be the first ones to see what they look like, because I haven't ever poured these yet. I got them yesterday. This is the first time I poured the dog and the bear. So you will see those being demolded, and these are some wings. So I want to show you those. Those will be can go on this baby, or they can go on the tiny baby. So you can either, there will be an option here, I'll show you. There will be an option, here's the big baby, so I could have wings for him. There will be an option for the wings to go on the big baby, or the tiny wings to go on these little babies right here. So they will be, they could be angels too. And here's the wings. Look how detailed these wings are. Here's some that have been poured. They're beautiful, I think. So I just wanted to show you. These are all the littles I have right now. I'm getting quite a collection of littles, and I will be selling these for Christmas, like I said. And I'm going to have to go because my video is getting long. And here's an ivory head. I will be painting one of these up to sell as a snuggle baby with just the head, and then one will be a boo-boo baby, but it'll be full-limbed and soft body for an iris. So I just wanted to let y'all know that, and I will be back this evening, demolding these molds. I hope you have a blessed and wonderful day. You're each one of you is in my thoughts and prayers, and I will talk to you soon. Stay safe and be blessed.